Freedom Convoy versus death threat protests, Canada's shocking double standard. In early 2022, thousands of Canadians from all walks of life gathered in Ottawa as part of the Freedom Convoy, a movement that began as a peaceful protest against government mandates and restrictions. These demonstrators, many of whom were truckers, families, and everyday citizens, exercised their right to assemble and voice their concerns in a non-violent manner. Despite their commitment to peaceful protest, the government responded with extraordinary measures. Police arrested numerous participants, and the federal government invoked the Emergencies Act for the first time in Canadian history. This led to the freezing of bank accounts belonging not only to protest organizers, but also to ordinary supporters who had donated to the cause. News headlines across the country reported on these unprecedented actions, sparking debates about civil liberties and the right to dissent in a democratic society. Under the Emergencies Act, many Canadians felt their fundamental rights were stripped away. Police erected barriers around Parliament Hill, and the government justified its actions by citing threats to public order. Protesters carried signs referencing the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, questioning whether their rights to free speech and peaceful assembly were truly being protected. The heavy police presence and swift government response left many wondering if peaceful dissent was still possible in Canada. In stark contrast, recent protests in Canada have included violent rhetoric and explicit calls for harm, with some demonstrators openly displaying extremist slogans and controversial flags. Despite these alarming developments, law enforcement and government officials have often appeared reluctant to intervene or enforce the same strict measures seen during the Freedom Convoy. This double standard has raised serious questions about the consistency and fairness of government responses to public demonstrations. In this video, I'll take a closer look at how Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government handled the Freedom Convoy, a peaceful legal movement led by Chris Barber and Tamara Lich, who became symbols of the protest. We'll examine the government's rationale for its actions, the impact on civil liberties, and the broader implications for democracy in Canada. We'll also compare this to the government's response to recent pro-Palestinian protests, some of which have included explicit death threats and hate speech. By exploring these two very different approaches, we can better understand the challenges facing free expression and peaceful protest in Canada today. Is this a double standard at play in our country? Are certain political messages, even those that include calls for violence or death, being tolerated or even encouraged, while others are quickly silenced or condemned? What does this say about the state of free speech and expression in Canada today? As Canadians, we must ask ourselves, are our freedoms truly protected, or are they selectively applied depending on the cause or group involved? Watch to see the truth, ask the hard questions, and decide for yourself. In recent months, Canada has witnessed a surge in protests, some of which have unfortunately crossed the line from peaceful demonstration to outright threats and violence. This has sparked a heated debate across the country. Should the Liberal government start charging these protesters who are promoting violence and making death threats? Or is there a better way to address the root causes of this unrest? Many Canadians are now questioning whether the government is doing enough to protect public safety, or if more decisive action is needed to stop individuals who incite harm. At the same time, there are concerns about the balance between maintaining order and respecting the right to protest. Meanwhile, critics argue that the government seems to be focusing its efforts on the peaceful truck convoy members, charging them with mischief and other offenses, rather than addressing those who are actually promoting violence. This has led to accusations of double standards and selective enforcement of the law. As a result, some of these individuals are now facing up to 8 years in prison, raising serious questions about justice, fairness, and the future of protest in Canada. The decisions made now will have lasting impacts on Canadian democracy and civil liberties. Follow and share this video, as well as please see your thoughts and comments on the subject.